I don't know if that was maybe the best idea in the NFL expansion world. I don't know if the NFL in Brazil is ever going to happen ever again, but they had the Friday night game in Brazil. Eagles got that win, and then you had a full slate of games on Sunday. So winners get sprinkles. We like to start with the good, and then we will dive into some of the less than good performances and some of the flat out ugly performances of the weekend. So, starting off, I would say looking around, like, best win of the weekend
It's the Chiefs.
is the Chiefs, isn't it?
No question.
Is the Chiefs won week one? I'm looking through. I'm like, where else? Um,
That was an absolute shootout on Thursday. Two MVPs, right? Two teams we think are behind AFC
Playing at an
Championship.
incredibly high level in week one. It was the Chiefs. After that, I'm going to say the Lions might have had the second best win of the weekend. I don't know what the Rams are going to be this year.
They look a lot different without Aaron Donald.
They very much do. But the fact that Detroit had that lead, gave it up, and then got back into it in overtime, I think the Lions had a fairly good win in terms of performances outside of Mahomes and outside of Lamar Jackson. Are we going to be seeing the C.J. Stroud show all year? They played the Colts. It's 29-27. What'd he go for? 2 touchdowns, 237. Other than that, what? I think Tua had a fairly good game. By the way, we're going to talk about the Dolphins more later because we found some stuff out about the Dolphins and what happens outside of the stadium as opposed to maybe always inside of the stadium. Other good performances. I'm gonna throw Baker Mayfield in there. Outside of the Thursday night football game, Baker Mayfield may have had the best week one in terms of an offensive player. Outside of that Mahomes Lamar Jackson game. Maybe you could say Dak Prescott because he signed a gigantic $131 million guaranteed deal and still beat the Browns 33-1. But he threw for $170 in that game. So,
Yeah, I still don't even think. Are we talking about the worst performances?
no, we're still. I'm trying to get the good out because there wasn't all that like. There was some okay. I mean, Steelers D looked good. Seahawks D looked good. The Vikings came out of nowhere, but I think that's more about how bad the Giants are than opposed to maybe
Daniel Jones is. I mean, he and Bryce Young will go back and forth for the worst quarterback in the league this year.
There might be some other guys in that mix too, but you're right. It's I think there's a quarterback in Cleveland that
He's paid a lot.
But
Speaking of which, yeah.
he might be one of the worst quartarbacks in the league.
And he's back in the news again. I don't know if you saw that.
I missed that.
Yeah, let's just say another suit popped up from Texas. So
not like a one you wear.
No,
like something he
a
was served.
civil
Like he was
lawsuit.
served.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a civil law. And they're like,
He's
I'm
got
like,
a lot of those suits. He's got a closet full of those.
I don't know how many more you can have, but either way, like, yeah, good point.
All right, so there was a handful of good performance. Jared Allen started slow, but ended up looking fairly good. All right, let's get to the bad. Joe Burrow and the Bengals. What is going on there? I know it's again. I've always said react to week one, don't overreact to week one. Even though this is what we do in NFL football, we overreact, and I love it. And there's a lot of things you go back and look last year like, oh, we freaked out, and then kind of figured it out. But react to week one, you don't overreact to week one. Patriots were supposed to be bad, Brenden. Patriots were supposed to be not like all-time bad. They don't have a quarterback. Drake May, who they started, couldn't even win the start. Who they drafted, they couldn't even win the starting job. They're going to Cincinnati. Here comes Joey Burrow off of injury. Revenge Tour 2024. 16-10. That was bad. That was a bad performance from the Cincinnati Bengals. Other bad performances, you mentioned it. The Giants, they're going to be very, very bad
And to that point,
this season.
real quick on the Bengals, I love Zach Taylor. I think he's a really good coach, but you start to look now, and with the 9-8 season last year, 0-1, like he's about 500 as a coach. You know this, Justin, especially with quarterbacks. Like it's no question. Like they're gonna be like Joe Burrow's our guy. If you're not winning with Joe Burrow,
Yeah.
we're gonna
find somebody that will.
like we paid him what 200 and some, so
I think he was like one.
he was up there.
He's all. They're all in the same ballpark.
Pretty
I think the
much.
guaranteed money is what.
Yeah.
And I think he's somewhere around like 190 guaranteed. Because wasn't it after Deshaun Watson? Essentially, the NFL all said nobody's going above 2.
They
Nobody's going
closed
above
that
2.
down for a minute.
And then old Jerry Jones was like, we're gonna give old Dak 231.
Just enough. Just enough.
Are the Raiders gonna be bad?
I told well again.
Like-
I know you said you kind of liked what you saw. I thought Antonio Pierce was kind of fool's gold, and you saw it, right? You saw that's a real coach in Jim Harbaugh,
I got
and I don't mean that.
I got Dan Campbell vibes from Antonio
Okay,
Pierce.
that's
Here's-
fair.
And here's what, like,
Campbell had a rough first year.
when he did. But with Antonio Pierce, the thing was like he took over a sinking ship, and it still sunk, but he got a little more life out of it than maybe we thought they were going to get, and seemed to kind of galvanize that locker room. And I missed on Dan Campbell. I missed on him. I was
we
like,
all
this
did.
guy is a clown. This guy can't. And I was like, no. Turns out players love him. They'll run through a brick wall for him. And I thought, all right, I'm going to wait on Antonio Pierce because I still remember Antonio Pierce as the guy that basically got Arizona State in massive amounts of trouble when he was there under the Herm Edwards regime, I guess we'll call it. And then he skipped town when Arizona State got all their the NCAA stuff and went to the Raiders. But he kind of galvanized the locker. And I love Gardner Minshew. I think Gardner Minshew is one of my favorite stories in football. I think we might be seeing once again that just Gardner Minshew is not a starting quarterback. He's a good quarterback to have on your team in case your starter gets hurt. But I don't know if that's a guy you can build a team around.
Yeah,
and I hate it because I like Gardner Minshew.
I know, and I kind of felt that way going into the year. That again, you have Jim Harbaugh in that division now, regardless of how he's going to change. How Justin Herbert's used. How much I don't really like him. He's good at what he does, and he wins everywhere. Then you throw in Andy Reid, who is probably the best offensive genius in the NFL, maybe NFL history. Then, ho-hum, Sean Payton, right? Before you even arrive at Antonio Pierce. So that's my thought with the Raiders. But Justin,
and getting back to the Chargers, right? Let's talk about the Chargers real quick because we saw, again, Harbaugh's going to Harbaugh. What did they run for? They ran for 176 on 27 carries and only asked Herbert to throw the ball 26 times.
see, that's still more than I thought it would be. So yeah.
More than, but Herbert's used to throwing like 45
I
times a
know.
game.
He was 40, 50 attempts last year.
And
for
now
sure.
he's going to be at 26 attempts, and they're going to ugly it up. They're going to go and play Harbaugh ball, especially this first season, because they don't have the dudes quite yet. They don't have a number one receiver. I mean, technically, they have somebody who is going to be their number one receiver.
It's such a bad crop of
But they
receivers.
don't have a number one receiver, so they got to ugly it up and kind of protect Herbert a little bit. But now that we look at that division, and I know Chad and Dwight were talking about this yesterday. Okay, it's the Chiefs division, right? I don't see any way, shape, or form that the Broncos, the Chargers, or the Raiders do anything to be able to compete in that division with the Chiefs. Chiefs are going to run away.
Unless Patrick Mahomes gets hurt. That is the only. So, like, they could lose.
Well, let me just preface. All of my opinions are based on everybody staying healthy all year.
No, but you know what I mean? Like, the Chiefs could, and this is crazy, they could lose Travis Kelce and probably still,
I don't know, Jim.
still going to be a problem, especially
Still
with
going to be a problem.
those,
But
but I know what you mean.
But now we look at the division, though, right? The Broncos are going to go through it this year. I love Bo Nix. He's going to have a rookie season. He's going to have a game where he probably plays really well, and then he's going to have games like he did on Sunday, where he throws some really bad picks, right? He's going to have those throws, and that's just what happens with rookie quarterbacks. C.J. Stroud was an anomaly. He was an anomaly. I don't know if we're ever going to see a rookie season like that ever again, because rookie quarterbacks are going to go through it. So the Broncos aren't going to push in that division. The Raiders don't feel like a team that's going to be able to push in that division. Do the Chargers just by default become kind of a wild card player?
Sure, when you have a quarterback like Herbert, and I know it's lazy.
They got a quarterback.
Yeah, it's lazy to go to quarterback, but yes, he will be able to make some throws. That being said, Justin, I would still. It's going to be the Chiefs, and I think it'll be interesting. I think it's open. It is like the Broncos, Bo Nix. It would not surprise me that he gets better in Sean Payton's offense as the year goes on. I know we had Chad doing on yesterday. He wasn't super optimistic about that first Bronco game, but I think that's going to take time, like you said. C.J. Stroud was probably an anomaly. DeMeco Ryans probably an anomaly. Because, I mean, we've seen, like, the other side of the coin, Justin, and I'm curious when we get over there, there's this quarterback in Carolina I'd really like to discuss.
Yeah, it's going to be bad. It's going to be bad. Let's see. Any other bad performances? Not necessarily. There was – week one in the NFL was great, but there were some ugly performances. That, let's just say, the idea of not playing your starters in preseason is really showing itself in week one.
You're big time. Because
other than that Thursday night game, like, was there a performance where you were like, we got to talk about that? The 49ers last night, 49ers were, I know I just went off on the whole injury report thing, but the 49ers look like they're the 49ers again. They're going to be the best team in the NFC until somebody proves me otherwise. But other than that,
the Lions are like, we're coming.
I guess the Lions are going to be one of those teams.
I think so.
I'm going to have to just get used to the Lions being good.
No, it's crazy. It is weird, but it's like the other night when
so
you're watching
bad
that game,
my entire life, and now they're going to be good.
I mean, it was like an overtime, Justin. It was like a child. Like they pushed the Rams
They
around.
ran it right down
they didn't have to throw.
their
yes, and
throats.
I'm like,
and they're just like, yeah, no, you can't. You're not going to stop
and
us.
it's such a contrasting style to how San Francisco plays. It's like, you can squint and go, all right, you can see like Eagles, Cowboys, Lions, San Francisco, like that start. There's a couple. Like, is Minnesota going to win a bunch of games? No. Sam. Are the Saints going to win?
How many times did they play the Patriots?
Right. Are the Saints
or not
going
the
to
Patriots? Sorry. How many times do they get to play the Giants? Because
right. How many times the Saints get to play the Panthers? Right. Actually, one more. So there you go. But no, Justin. I think we were right about the NFC South all along because you mentioned me. You're like, Kirk Cousins didn't look very good.
No, he did not.
The Panthers, again, this is not so much a hot take, but Justin, if this goes as what we've seen, and I know in the offseason you're like, let's see Bryce Young before we call him a bust. Justin, I think when you look back, like considering how much Baker Mayfield has resurrected his career, Bryce Young is, and this hot take, I had to go back and look, probably the biggest number one overall bust since Sam Bradford.
Yeah. Was Jamarcus Russell before or after Sam Bradford?
Before.
He was before. He's still the biggest bust of all time.
Bradford, I think, was mostly
biggest
injuries. He was a decent player. But Justin,
and I know this because I obviously am obsessed with the AFC North and the Cleveland Browns. You saw flashes of Baker in Cleveland. You know what I mean?
It's true. You did. He took him to the playoffs.
Took him to the playoffs, and you saw and then the Browns did what the Browns do, and they screwed over their quarterback
for Deshaun.
And we're like, oh, we're not going to pay you. And then he got hurt, and then they're like, put all the blame on Baker because financially it was easy to do that, and that's just what the Browns do. And then they made the dumbest move of all time, which is paying Deshaun Watson $230 guaranteed million.
Trading away 6 picks. God, hindsight's funny sometimes.
That is the history usually says like that when the Minnesota Vikings traded away a whole bunch of picks and offensive linemen to get Herschel Walker in the 90s from the Cowboys, that goes down as maybe one of the worst trades in NFL history. This one might be one of them. The Cleveland Browns and the fact that they gave up picks and signed the whole deal for Deshaun Watson.
There. I mean, we've talked about the win. Like, it's a total win-win on both sides, Justin, but I didn't know this. Did you know that 3 of the picks that the Lions got in the Rams deal for Stafford is Jahmyr Gibbs, now one of their starting running backs.
Boom.
Jamison Williams, who had a big night the other night, and then their tight end Laporta. So I saw that the other day. I go, to Justin's point, Rams got a Super Bowl, worth it forever.
That flag flies forever.
But I look at the Lions side, you're like, darn tootin', just like that.
Set up for the next 3-4 years.
Yeah, that's gonna do well.
All right, now let's get into the ugly, because there was some ugliness. Let's start with Friday. The whole Brazil thing was ugly. It didn't work.
What was it about it for you that was? Because I told you I was really excited for it.
It didn't work. I don't know. Maybe it's just gonna take some time. You can feel like a vibe. The stadium was kind of dead.
That'll get that
the
for sure.
field surface, from what I read, was very suspect. And then the whole thing kind of leading up to it, which was, don't leave the hotel. The players seemed to be very upset about the whole situation.
The Green Bay Packers were 2 hours away from the stadium. You hear that?
2 hours away.
And I get it when you go to,
because you can't really factor in international traffic.
Again, safety is paramount, and you can't just say, hey, like Brazil, we're the NFL, we're putting a moat around whatever happens.
I know.
And, again, parts of Brazil are,
and
third world country,
and
right?
And it stinks for the Packers that
Totally,
they lose Jordan Love, and now that a lot of people want to blame
the
field, but he got rolled up.
Are they blaming the field?
I saw a couple of hot takes on the internet.
That makes sense.
Let's see. Also ugly. Kirk Cousins and the Atlanta Falcons offense looked very ugly. Now, that's going to happen to everybody that plays with Steelers. Let me just tell you right now. They're going to make a lot of teams very, very ugly when they play the new version of the Steel Curtain 3.0.
How many weeks does Kirk have before he starts looking over that shoulder for that lefty?
I think you get. All right, let's do this real quick. Let's look at the Falcons' schedule. All right, so they lost. They're playing at the Eagles. Not good. Not good, Jim.
That's out. Yep.
They're home against the Chiefs. Not good, Jim.
No, that's tough too.
Then they play the Saints at home.
Winnable.
Then they get the Bucks. Not good, Jim. And then they go at the Panthers. I would circle October 20th, home against the Seahawks.
Yeah.
Home against the Seahawks, right there. Because then they go to the Bucks, Cowboys, to the Saints. Yeah.
You're going to throw, if you're the Falcons, you play in chess, you go, hey, Ryan Grubb, you remember your quarterback you had at Washington? Oh, yeah, here you go. Check it out. I mean, I just wonder if this could be a one-game anomaly, but, Justin, they invested so much money in Kirk. I just wonder if they're like, no matter what, he's got
not
the
only
year.
that, but they invested money in, who's the guy they got from the Patriots?
Oh, Matthew Judon.
They invested money all over the place. They're in win-now mode. They think that, which was still mind-boggling, is why you would take a top 10 pick and make it as your backup quarterback for 3 years. Okay, but
okay.
But you're in win-now mode for everything else they were doing is win now, win now, win now. Hey, we got a top 10 pick. Let's get a quarterback we're going to play in 3 years. Meanwhile, Xavier Worthy is just sitting there going like,
I'll go to
Kirk Cousins is like, I would like to throw to him.
Yeah, he's really fast. I don't know if you saw that on Thursday.
Patrick Mahomes gives a throw to him now?
It's crazy, right?
It is nuts. Also, continuing with ugly football, Brenden, you're right. I don't see a way in which Bryce Young plays good football in the NFL. I don't know how it's going to work.
How can you be so good at Alabama and get a Heisman? He has the Alabama single game. He threw for almost 600 yards in an Alabama game. Is it literally? Is he too small? Is it the size?
I don't think so, because
size?
we've seen Russell Wilson and we've seen Drew Brees, and those guys have succeeded. And trust me, I've stood next to Russell Wilson. He's 5'10". All right.
Are you taller than Russ?
No, I'm exact height.
Okay,
and I'm 5'10" at a stretch.
Fair. With cleats, no, not cleats, you might be a little taller.
Might be. But I've stood next to him. He's 5'10". They say 6 foot. He's 5'10". I think, I don't know, Jim. There's just some guys, it just doesn't quite click. All right, we got some more NFL stuff coming up in the second hour, but we are going to shift gears, get back into college football, and we go on campus next, 620 Rip City Radio. All right, let's wrap up hour number one. We are now in the this is what is always nuts about college football season is we've got a Civil War game coming up on Saturday, and we spent I don't know how many days counting down to the football season, right? Counting down to the football season. Saturday is week 3. You know what I mean? Saturday's gonna be week 3. That's a quarter of the season. Just by Saturday, it was like this time of year goes by so fast. It's glorious, it's great, but man, it goes by so fast. And I knew this was ultimately going to happen, and I think it's going to be kind of fun until Oregon lays a big egg against somebody. But now that we do have a playoff in college football, now that there is 12 teams that can get in, because forever when it was 4 teams, the argument between 4 and 5 was pretty significant. It's pretty significant. We saw Florida State last year. Now, the argument between essentially number 11 and number 12 is going 12, 13, and 14 is going to be the real arguments. And we see it in college basketball all the time where we spend Selection Sunday and the next Monday after kind of debating and going, and we spend a good chunk of February talking about what? Bubble teams. We don't talk about the good teams in February in college basketball because we know they're in. Duke, North Carolina, Kentucky, they're all in. We talk about the bubble teams, and now we're 2 weeks in, and we already have, at least ESPN has put together, this is from Heather Dinich, college football bubble watch. And guess what? Oregon's right on it. Now, Heather Dinich still has Oregon as the number 8 seed. I don't know what Oregon has done in the first 2 weeks to essentially be the number 8 seed. And this is the other thing people are going to have to realize. The seeding in the college football playoff is not a ranking. It is a seeding. It is where you are locked in. It is not a ranking. So, according to ESPN right now, if the season ended, Penn State would play at Oregon in the first round of the playoffs. Bubble teams include Missouri, Kansas State, Utah, Clemson, because Clemson might still be the best team in the ACC. Yeah, they got their teeth kicked in by Georgia. But, Brenden, App State's supposed to be one of those teams like Boise State that is supposed to be in the mix for that group of 5 spot. Clemson beat App State 66-20. Okay. Oregon did not do that to Boise State, by the way. Oklahoma, LSU, Michigan, Boise State. So if we look at it right now, and I think I know my answer, of ESPN's quote-unquote bubble teams, Missouri, Kansas State, Utah, Clemson.
Give me the Utes, man.
I was going to say, I think Utah's the one team that is
you said earlier.
Does the Big 12 have another thing coming? Do they know what Utah is going to be bringing to the Big 12? Or are we just going based off of kind of the past? Again, Cam Rising's hurt again.
Yeah, it was a hand. So I learned.
Throwing hand, though, right?
Non-throwing hand.
Oh, non-throwing hand.
And I'm not going to lie. I watched it again. Terrible play from Baylor. They basically threw him into the water cooler. Absolutely should have been a late hit. But that being said, Justin,
I am amazed at the discrepancies of late hits this year, by the way, it is true. College football. Like, I have seen some hits where, like, essentially throwing guy into the 4th row and the official's like, no, play on. And then I've seen where, like, they had a fingernail on the guy and he's just kind of brushing up again. Like, it is amazing. Yeah, it's always been a problem in college football, though. Yeah,
but no, I really, I've always really liked and respected the heck out of Utah for what they did in the Pac-12 the last few years. I think Whittingham is in the mix to be the best coach in that conference, and I think Cam Rising's in the mix to be the best. And Justin, the Big 12 obviously gets an auto invite.
Yeah.
Now,
so they got Oklahoma State winning the Big 12 right now.
When they play Utah, one of those two will win the Big 12 for sure, especially with Baylor not looking it as, we'll see.
I'm going to keep an eye on Arizona, Kansas State Friday. Big 12 game for both. Obviously, the first Big 12 game for both.
Noah Fafita.
Noah
Team
Fafita. Kansas State beat the dog out of Tennessee Martin, but then barely beat Tulane. Now, they were playing at Tulane. That's a terribly scheduled game.
Hey, man, it would be fun to go down to New Orleans, down to the Green Wave. You wouldn't go to that game if the Oregon played at the Green Wave, Justin?
I don't think they play in the Superdome.
Oh,
they
okay,
think
so
they have
they're
their
on-
own
okay.
place. They might now. I don't
Gotcha.
know.
No, I'm speaking off the cuff, but I'm like, put some respect on the Green Wave, man.
Let's see. Yeah, Yeoman Stadium.
Okay, yeah, that's probably not the move. Probably not the move. But yes, back to your point.
Well, you know my obsession. If you were a Power 5 or
Yeah.
Power 4 school, you shall never play a true road game at a Group of 5 school. Just don't do it. You don't have to. You can come to our place all you want. But yeah, Arizona, Kansas State, that's going to have some big time implications. That's a Friday game.
Do you trust Kansas State? Because to me, they still are like, yeah, like I know he's long gone, but it's like it's the Bill Snyder group. They're gonna like win.
All
10
right, here's
games.
the thing about Kansas State that I can't get rid
like
of.
when Oregon crushed.
The quarterback at Ohio State, is it Will Howard? Is his name? I believe it's his name. Quarterback at Ohio State, Will Howard. He's a transfer from Kansas State.
Yes.
Because Kansas State said, thanks, but no thanks. We're going to go with our guy. Big 5-star recruit out of Kansas is like maybe the biggest recruit that they had. God, what?
Okay.
Is Andrew Johnson? That's his Avery Johnson. Sorry. So there's something about a team in Kansas State who had a quarterback as good as Will Howard and said, I think you should transfer.
That's interesting.
That's why I still think Kansas State's got a shot, because they've got a dude in Avery Johnson that they think, and he's a sophomore, and they think he's better than Will Howard. And Will Howard's now might win the national title. And Kansas State's got, so that's why Kansas State, I'm just like, I just can't, something about them, I just can't get.
Yeah, I just remember that Fiesta Bowl, man, and I was like, okay, Kansas State is still that team that just got rim-rocked by Oregon in that game, man.
Yeah, you want to feel old?
That's like 10 years ago?
12 years ago. It's 12
Yeah,
years.
I
It was
didn't need-
12,
didn't need
12
that.
years ago. It's a dozen years ago. Chip Kelly was the head coach.
That's crazy.
He has
That's
since
crazy.
been the coach of the Eagles, the 49ers, and the UCLA Bruins, and now the offensive coordinator at Ohio State. That was 12 years ago.
Yeah. It's like,
Golly, it's getting old stinks.
that's the truth.
But yeah, I think I'm with you on the bubble teams. I'm not like Oklahoma's an interesting team, but they have a horrific schedule. And after that, I just watch out for the Clemson bounce back. I'm just saying, watch out for the Clemson bounce back. We are going to bounce back to hour number 2. Some more NFL talk coming up next. 620 Rip City Radio.
7 a.m. on a Tuesday. Brenden Slaughter with you. Rip City Mornings. No Christian McCaffrey. No problem. As the 49ers take down Aaron Rodgers and the Jets 32-19 on Monday Night Football. Backup running back Jordan Mason goes off. So just proves you put any guy in the Kyle Shanahan system, they can run wild. Speaking of the NFL, Rams star wide receiver Puka Nacua is going to IR with a PCL injury. He'll be out for at least a month. Quarterback Jordan Love for the Green Bay Packers avoids IR, but they're expected to start Malik Willis this weekend. We'll see what Jordan Love's status is moving forward. And perhaps the biggest story, more details on the Tyreek Hill situation as body cam footage shows a lot of details, a lot of audio, and Tyreek Hill being forcibly removed from his vehicle. So, yeah, a lot going on there. Coming up on the show, we got Devon Pouncey in hour 3. Catch up, talk some ball with him. We got Make or Miss in hour 2. More NFL discussion. You get Rip City Mornings.
Hey, welcome back to Rip City Mornings. Hopefully you are having a fantastic Tuesday. We're having an awful lot of fun here. Thanks for hanging out with us. If you are new to the program, welcome. If you like what you hear, hey, would you mind telling a friend? Just it's between us. And if you are coming back to the big show, welcome back. You know the drill. We got Make or Miss coming up in 20 minutes. Stuff we saw on the internet coming up in approximately 45 minutes. Stuff I saw on the internet yesterday was some body cam footage of Miami police officers and Tyreek Hill. And I have some thoughts. I think Brendan's description in the update probably about as good as you can get, which was there's a lot going on there. So we may dive into that, into stuff we saw on the internet, because that's what I did see on the internet yesterday. Going back to week 1 in the NFL, is this just going to be how it works in the NFL with the fact that nobody or barely anybody plays in the preseason? And I mean, other than a handful of quarterbacks, including Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson, quarterback play was pretty bad week 1. Like you look at Steelers got the win. Justin Fields, $156 through the air. Josh Allen was good. I'll give you that.
That's kind of it. Jalen Hurts had a few moments in Brazil, but still had a fumble and a pick.
Yeah.
Patrick Mahomes had a pick, wasn't his usual self. Anthony Richardson cooked this weekend.
Wait, but now, hold on.
He didn't have any interceptions, did he?
He did not have any interceptions, but he completed 9 passes.
Fair.
He was 9 of 19. Now, one of those was the best pass of the weekend.
Yeah, it was.
It was awesome.
I think he had
he threw 2 touchdowns, 1 pick, and was 9 of 19.
What do you have? You have some rushing yards too? I'm like, yeah, it might be obviously.
He had 58 yards. He 1 touchdown on the ground.
Yeah,
19-yard touchdown run on the ground. So
I was so wrong on him.
He's going to be a fine quarterback if he can stay
him.
healthy. He's going to be a good quarterback. That's going to be an interesting situation to watch in Indianapolis. But like, Aaron Rodgers looked okay.
Dare I say old?
He looked old. He's good. He is old, but I think old Aaron Rodgers is better than 70% of the quarterbacks in this league.
Oh, yeah. The Jets are probably thrilled to have him back. I mean, yeah.
But, let's just run down some of these games, right?
Shoot, let's do it.
Steelers-Falcons. And, again, the Steelers are going to make a lot of quarterbacks look ugly, but
they got a great defense, man.
Justin Fields, now, again, he's their backup. It's going to be interesting.
What's going on there this week? Give me the insider info, Justin. Who we going with, man?
You have to give Russ a run. You have to.
You have to?
You have to. That defense is so good. T.J. Watt is so good. And
you and Chad were talking about him yesterday, big time.
To be able to, he had a sack, he had a fumble recovery. T.J. Watt completely disrupted the game by himself. The Pittsburgh defense is good enough to make the playoffs. I don't know if the Pittsburgh defense is good enough to win the Super Bowl, but they're good enough to make the playoffs. And with what the Bengals did yesterday, they're good enough to compete in the division. That being said, Justin Fields is not a good enough quarterback, I don't think, to get you to might be able to get you a wild card. I don't know. Russell Wilson has quarterbacked in the Super Bowl. Yeah, it was a long time ago. but he has quarterbacked in the Super Bowl. He has won a division multiple times. He might be cooked, but you have to find out. You know what I mean? It's like you have to. Here's what Russell Wilson is. And Brenden, I think you will appreciate this. Russell Wilson is the gallon of milk that on the label, it's a couple days past due.
I thought you were going to go with.
But you're never going to know until what? You got to open up that cap and you got to smell it. It's the only way you're going to know.
So
he might be spoiled. The milk might be bad, but you're not going to know. You got to open up that cap and you got to give it a whiff and you got to give him a chance. You got to give him 2 or 3 games, if not more. He might be cooked. He might be He might be past due. Best used by 2019. But Steelers, we got to take a sniff and we got to find out if he's spoiled or not.
That's a great reference, Justin. We talked about this recently. I got to insert draft day.
I did that with some vegetables the other day.
Yeah.
I was like, it's the date and I'm like, let's give it nope, they're still good. I think it was some cab or some coleslaw.
Oh yeah.
Make a little stir fry, and I was like,
nice.
This is about 3 days.
I thought
give it a whiff. Nope, that's good.
Yeah, I mean, I thought you were gonna go a little more like, oh yeah, Russell Wilson is Brian Drew. We got secret trainers saying, have you seen what Russ has done with George Pickens in the offseason? You see what Russ is benching? 400 pounds, baby.
Maybe.
Who knows? I mean,
maybe he should have been working on his calf to keep that healthy.
Well, I just, to that point, like we saw the Justin Fields. You saw that movie in Chicago, right? And Chicago obviously made that move and, was like.
But Chicago didn't have Pittsburgh's defense. That was the thing with the.
Totally. And that's where I said, I think that, and this is just my opinion, I think Russell Wilson is going to offer more short-term upside. Justin Fields, long-term upside. We'll see how that plays out, but,
here's where I'm at with Justin Fields, though. If he's good enough to have that kind of upside that you speak of, he should be good enough to have that right now. It's
been
year
4
3.
years.
It's year 4. Like, if he's good enough to be a quarterback that can win you a Super Bowl, which is what every team is looking for that doesn't already have that guy. But anyways, Kirk Cousins, he didn't look very good. Like you mentioned, Jared Allen looked good, especially in the second half. A little rusty coming up. Will Levis, he single-handedly cost him the game. Will Levis bad. He was bad in week 1.
Showed some good.
Caleb Williams.
Yeah.
They got the win. He did not look particularly good in said win.
Will Levis had moments last year, so I'm not ready to call him a bust like I am. Like Bryce Young hasn't had any moments.
He threw one of the worst interceptions of the weekend. Worse than even Shadur Sanders' interception. Will Levis was so bad. All right. Bengals, Joe Burrow. Now, again, some of this is what the whole point why I wanted to bring all this up. None of these guys play in the preseason. Or if they do, it's just a little bit here and there. None of them play in the preseason. Joe Burrow's coming off of an injury. Kirk Cousins coming off an injury. And they're not playing in the preseason. So I guess it shouldn't surprise me that in week 1, the quarterback play was a little bit meh, to say the least. But Joe Burrow did not look good. What did old Trevor Lawrence do? Trevor Lawrence, 12 of 21, $162.
Yeah, so ho-hum for him, man. Like, again, another number 1
now,
pick.
Tua
cooked.
Tua cooked.
Well, Tyreek, man, that'll do it.
Helps to have Tyreek Hill on a mission. More on that later on in the big show. Let's see. Bryce Young, that's not going to work.
So you're ready to believe me that he's maybe he might be looking for something else soon, which is mind-boggling. He has a high speed.
He was 13 of 30, so he was under 50%, and he was no touchdowns, 2 picks. That's against the Saints.
Who are just an okay team.
Yeah.
That's
Derek Carr. Saints scored 47 points. 47 points. Derek Carr threw for 200 yards.
Yeah,
like 200 yards.
So bad.
They threw 3 touchdowns.
Well, you saw the Bryce Young pick. Actually, that might be there with the Will Levis pick. It could be up. It was so bad.
Boy, it was so bad. All right, continuing on. Danny Dimes. All right. It's gotten to the point now again, because Danny Dimes, he took the money and it's in his account. it's gotten to the point where I almost feel bad for him. He is not a starting caliber quarterback in the
so
league,
bad.
and everybody knows it, and he knows it.
He's self-aware.
He
totally
knows it.
is. Yeah.
And it's just like, what do you want me to do? Give the money back? No, I'm going to take it. But
Who's going to get money back?
he's not there. And, like, I saw a video of him. They're going to have to change the stadium makeup because he, to walk to the stadium, he's, like, walking by fans, and they're just chirping at him.
Is he the worst quarterback in the league if we were to say right now? Or because I give Bryce Young
There's-
some benefit because it's like, hey.
It's either him or Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson's bad.
I don't want to say Bryce Young's the worst. He's looking like a bust, but it's 1 week of his second year. I'll give that kid a couple more games before I started to sail him off.
Yeah.
Danny Dimes is flat terrible. Deshaun Watson.
Deshaun Watson, 24-45. He threw 45 times for $169. He did throw one touchdown, threw 2 picks.
I mean, at least Deshaun Watson, like I said, at least once in his career, he threw for 5,000 yards and a bunch of touchdowns.
I understand
like
that.
Danny Dimes wishes he could throw that many yards.
I know.
But I feel so bad for Malik Neighbors, the rookie wide receiver that's there in New York. It's like he is going to struggle so much with having Jones as his QB. Tough situation. I feel for all of our New York Giants fans out there.
Gardner Minshew did throw for 257, but again, threw a pick and got Harbaugh'd because I think they may have had the ball for like 4 minutes of the game.
Harbaugh. I love that. Classic.
Look, Seahawks defense looked good. Geno did not look good. He scored now he did score on a run, but you're not going to live and die with Geno Smith running the football for you. $171, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Took 2 safeties. 2 safeties in that game. The Seattle Seahawks. They got to win, but they can't be feeling all that comfortable. Like I mentioned, in a win, 33-17, Dak even got his money. Threw for $179. Baker Mayfield had the best weekend. He threw for 4 touchdowns and nearly
really
300
good
yards.
weekend.
Like, Baker looked good. Jaden Daniels looked like a rookie quarterback. Bo Nix looked like a rookie quarterback. Caleb Williams certainly looked like a rookie quarterback. Those guys, that's what it's going to be. But you look at a league full. Matthew Stafford threw for 317 last night. On Sunday night. He looked pretty good. But again,
Jaden Daniels, the best rookie of the weekend?
I guess by default.
I think so.
By default, like Bo threw 2 picks. What did Caleb?
Like 180 yards, I think. Something like that. No touchdowns.
93 yards. That's what it is. Yeah. He was 14 of 29, so threw it 50% for 93 yards.
Interesting.
Yeah. It's look, he's a rookie. He's a rookie.
Stroud,
of course, he
Justin.
looked good during Hard Knocks. Everybody looks good during Hard Knocks.
They expect everybody to be Stroud now. It's like, you just got to be Stroud.
Yeah, that's just,
It's so
that's
bad
a
for
once
future
in
rookies.
a generation rookie, right?
Future rookie. And all these rookie quarterbacks are like, this is not fair. Like, yeah, they're being compared like this is just not fair, Justin.
So, but when you look at the league, like, I don't know, like other than like Jared Allen, Baker Mayfield, Mahomes, and Lamar, there's a lot of bad quarterbacking this weekend. And I don't think it's because the defense in the league is all that awesome. I think it has to do with the fact none of these guys play during the preseason. Now, again, I don't think it's a wrong decision because if I'm an owner and now you're paying quarterbacks $200 million, yeah, you're not going to get hurt in preseason. It's not going to happen. So if anything's going to happen, it's going to happen in the regular season. But NFL football is nice to be back, but there was some bad quarterbacking going on this weekend. All right, coming up next, we have got Make or Miss here on 620 Rip City Radio. All right, coming up in hour number 3, we're going to talk to Devon Pouncey. He's going to be joining us live in studio. Get his thoughts on the NFL weekend. And who knows what else we'll get into. We got Make or Miss coming up here in just a smidge. I'm looking at Good Morning Football because we have DirecTV, and so we are not allowed to watch SportsCenter or ESPN anymore.
Yeah, I moved to Good Morning America, Justin. It's
Are you on to Good Morning America?
Yeah, I'm watching all the headlines now.
How's everything going over there?
It's pretty solid.
Anything going on in the news tonight?
You know, some weather. Because I'm like, not that Good Morning Football hasn't been solid, but I like that. I like that ESPN just covered everything, right? It's just like, it wasn't just, I want some college football. I want some this. I want some. So I'm like, heck with it. Throw on the news.
So now you throw on the news. Anything going on tonight?
We got some hurricanes apparently going down to Louisiana. So
but like news-wise.
Oh, well, something's
slow,
going.
Like slow news night tonight, right?
Yes, some people might be tuned into some things tonight. Might be a gather around the television kind of night, like circa 1975.
My Twitter feed is going to be corrupted, is what you're saying. Is tonight.
Don't open social media,
by
Justin.
A bunch of
just turn it off.
Dum-dums yelling at each other.
Like, put your phone and you told me you don't have like a key dish at home for your car keys.
I had a key dish.
Oh.
It is now. It happens every single time. Every single time I've done this, I went. Whether I was single or whether I was with Kelly, I cannot explain it. Every time I go and get just a thing that I just want my keys to go in, maybe my wallet, because obviously keys and the wallet usually go together. It always ends up with old gift cards, and there's a bolt in there, and
it's so true.
There's like a bill that I'm like, I don't want to forget that, and then it's full. There's an old battery in there.
Yeah. Maybe a 9-volt.
It's like, I bought so many 9 volts.
Oh, I bet you did.
I bought the pack. I bought the whatever.
Nice.
They call it a value pack. It was pretty expensive,
Yeah,
but I've got all the 9 volts now. The smoke detectors are fully batteried up, and I've got backups. But no, they're having an interesting discussion on Good Morning Football. The Browns have the worst week 1 loss. And I am going to say no. I don't think it's even particularly close. The Bengals had the worst week 1 loss. The Cowboys are going to beat some teams. Now, the Browns looked bad. But if at the end of the season you look back and go, we took a home loss in week 1 to the Cowboys, I don't think anybody's going to bat an eye. The fact that the Bengals lost to the Patriots at home, and the Patriots, now I don't know what maybe they've got it figured out. I don't know. Maybe Gerard Mayo has sparked something in that facility, because it's like, the big bad witch is gone. We can actually smile when we play football now. Like, maybe there's something there. Maybe there's some joy back in New England, as opposed to we're just on to Cincinnati. But the Patriots were on to Cincinnati because they hammered the Bengals.
Yeah,
I would hammered the Bengals. That's the worst week 1 loss.
It is because again, you saw with it. Again, New Orleans is not going to be a great team this year. Look at what New Orleans did to Carolina. It was a dead heat to see if Carolina or New England would be the worst team in the NFL this year. It's very clearly Carolina. Justin, remember the Browns with Hugh all those years ago when they went 1-16?
Yeah.
The Panthers might push that. Let's hope that they actually keep their pick this time around instead of giving it to the Bears.
Yeah.
But this could be a rough year. Panthers might have made a head coaching mistake too, but we'll see. Too early to tell.
All right, let me ask you this real quick. And again, I know I'm eating into some make or miss time, but let me ask you this. We had this discussion earlier today. A week ago, there was, I don't want to say, it wasn't a consensus, but I would say more people than not would have said that it's conceivable Shedeur Sanders would be the first quarterback off the board. A week ago, it's conceivable, right? And when you look at the quarterbacks that are in college right now and the guys that are going to be going pro, if Carolina does have the number 1 overall pick, and they do say, look, Bryce, it's been 2 years, we're moving on. Is it Shedeur Sanders? Is it Shedeur to the Carolina Panthers?
Quinn Ewers.
Or is it Quinn Ewers?
I like Quinn. I mean, Justin,
I've always liked
Yeah.
Quinn Ewers.
Yeah. No, and we had this conversation earlier. I think some GM, NFL GM, will 100% get drunk on what Shadur can do physically. And physically speaking, I know Justin and I we
And
talked.
then does Dion have enough contacts in the NFL to kind
Yeah.
of make some things happen?
Yeah, he does. Now the whole picking.
But I think the opinion on Shadur is a little bit, and the whole lineman thing. I think that was a little bit overblown.
Well, he did throw.
He didn't
He threw.
fully throw them under the bus. I think he kind of nudged them towards
Well,
the
no,
bus.
I'm talking last year when.
But last year
when
he-
he threw threw the whole offensive line under the bus. I know it's fact because two of them play for the Beavers now.
I know.
I mean, that's,
But this the post game comments where it was like, "Oh, he threw us," is like he simply compared himself to Raiola and saying that Raiola didn't get touched, and
just very immature. That's what that it's.
he nudged them towards
Yeah,
the
it's just-
under of the bus. He didn't really throw them under the bus. But I'm just wondering. All right, so then
Quinn Ewers, my guy, with what he
okay,
did.
let me throw this out because there's a lot of factors here. Quentin Ewers, I believe, is a redshirt sophomore. He's a redshirt sophomore. It's only his second year starting, right? So, if you're Quinn Ewers,
A true junior.
true junior, okay, my bad. So if you're
He gone.
but wait a minute. If Carolina, who does not have a great track record,
Terrible. owner, too.
if Carolina is the number one pick, do you stay in Texas? You get paid the same.
I don't know, Justin.
You get
That's a
paid
great
the
question.
same. You get
Great-
paid the same. I mean,
A great
I
question.
don't know what's Caleb Williams get paid this year. We looked it up.
About $10 million, I think.
Okay, you don't get paid the same. Never mind. But you get you get paid a lot.
You do. I mean,
I think Quinn. I think now again. And then here's the other part of it. Does Texas tell Quinn? Yeah, no, you got to go because Arch Manning is playing next year.
Well, that's going to be a problem.
Yeah.
That's a break point eventually. I'm surprised it didn't happen already. But yeah, I mean,
This is gonna be.
if
fun.
I'm an NFL GM, Justin, after this last weekend, I go, Quinn, you went into the big house and just like if I'm an NFL
throttled,
like he won me over as a draft. I'm like, he's got it. He is him, as the kids say, Justin.
He's got moxie. He's got This is gonna sound weird,
I miss
but like
the
you know how
mullet,
you
though.
just look at a quarterback, you're like, man, that guy looks like a quarterback.
I miss the mullet. It was so great when he
You
rocked the
love mullets.
mullet, man. I mean, it's the short hair game, man. But he had a good long hair for a while.
Well, you had to go because like Colin Cowherd would be like, well, you can't have long hair and be a big time quarterback. You think about CEOs, you think about management, you think about higher up. No long hair there. You got to have short. If you want to, the long hair was fine when you were a freshman. You're a junior now. That's what Cowherd would do.
I mean, the only.
I think it was a dead on.
I mean, he's
Cowherd.
kind of right because the only one the other way is Trevor Lawrence, and we don't know how good he is.
And well, we've talked about this. Long hair Tom Brady, like his worst year. Like long hair Tom Brady was like his worst year. All right. Interesting stuff.
Very.
God, I love talking football. I just do. Let's continue it with a little make or miss.
All right. Since we haven't mentioned it, we're going to go ahead and open up this forum to discuss it. Tyreek Hill is going to win such a massive lawsuit.
I am very interested. Let me put an asterisk. I'm very interested to see what steps he takes and what discourse he has. It doesn't look good for the police. Now, there is court of public opinion, and then there is the real court, where you actually have to present evidence and you have to present damages and everything else. Court of public opinion, it's pretty clear. Yeah, Tyreek could have handled the situation better. Could have. That being said, being rude to cops should not get you thrown to the ground and handcuffed. Being threatening, that maybe is a different story. That's why I was like, I want to wait and see what the body cam footage shows, because maybe he threatened them. You know? I don't know. Maybe there was a threat. Maybe there was some sort of safety who knows? I watched that body cam footage 4 or 5 times yesterday. He was rude. He was rude to the cops. And then it became big you-know-what contest. And somehow along the way, and again, let me preface this by saying, I have very good friends who are in law enforcement. I have very good friends who are police officers. I have family who are police officers. I have nothing but respect for anyone who puts on the uniform and who comes out and serves and tries to protect our community. That being said, these guys who are jacked up on adrenaline and maybe something else give actual, good, hardworking, honest, service-led cops such a bad name. They give them such a bad name because you were not threatened. You were not in danger. You were embarrassed. You were embarrassed because a very rich, famous person treated you like you were beneath them. And your ego couldn't handle it. And so it got into a testosterone contest, and you had to prove that you, like, again, I am not a police officer, and even though I know some, I don't know the protocols. But when you hear about things like this, it's all about it. We got teamwork, de-escalation, so everybody can remain calm and everybody can remain safe. This was chaos. You had, at one point, I don't know if it was Calais Campbell or another teammate.
It was Jonnu Smith.
Jonnu Smith, thank you, comes to see, like, what's going on? And you have one cop telling him to drive away and the other telling him to come here. And they're both just screaming at the top of their lungs, ultimately leading to him getting handcuffed. All because he was following the. This is a mess. This is an absolute PR, public opinion nightmare. Because if you watch it, even the most pro-law enforcement person has got to look at it and be like, yeah, probably could have handled that a whole lot different. Now, Tyreek Hill, don't drive 100 miles an hour on your way to the game. Don't do it. That being like,
it's just I don't.
We just start there. Like, don't drive.
Yeah.
That doesn't change what two things can be true at the same time, right? Those guys massively overreacted, did not de-escalate, actually escalated it and made it 100 times worse than it ever had to be. Also can be true, probably shouldn't be driving 100 miles an hour. Now, that's, again, I'm separating the two. We're just going to deal with the incident, though. Police are there to protect and serve. See, and you can't forget the service part of it. You work for us, right? Any good cop will tell you, I work for the citizens. I work for the people. Just because someone is rude to you, you don't get to then flex your cop muscle and put them in handcuffs and try to embarrass them. Because if you listen to it, oh, are you crying now? Did you hear that?
Yeah.
Are you crying? This was all about belittling and force of power. This was not about protecting and serving. This was two dudes in a bar fight. The problem was one guy had a badge and some cuffs. This was a total, you think you're better than me, and you can't do that when you're in that profession,
right.
in my opinion. Now, what does my opinion carry? Who knows? But in my opinion, you can't do that.
Yeah. So,
de-escalate. Was he being rude? Sure. Write him a big fat ticket and be on your way.
Yeah. So I mean,
that's what I'm going to say.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of similar thoughts with Justin. My situation is I'm just in my experience. I'm very skeptical of police officers. I don't have any positive experiences.
But see, I think this is why it's really good that we get the body cams now.
Sure.
Like, we get the body. Everybody was able to see exactly what happened. Could you imagine if they didn't have body cams? What that might have been? The speculation? What it would, like, now nope, we've got the video.
But it just bothers me so much that we, again, it's obtuse to me. The fact that we went through what we went through the last 4 or 5 years, and I can't shake the image of them dragging Tyreek Hill out of the car onto the concrete. And then, like you said, the belittling. I haven't seen it other than one video, but supposedly striking him I just there are massive issues here, and
it's a PR nightmare. This is going to be
and
an absolute PR nightmare. Now, getting back to kind of the original point, I don't know if he'd win a lawsuit. It'd be interesting.
yeah, and just to finish that thought, I mean, it's something that's terrible, right? It's just terrible to see in sports, and I think the biggest takeaway, Justin, is maybe it's nothing, but I think it's fair that he said, "What would have happened to me if I wasn't Tyreek Hill?" I just think it's a question worth pondering because
it seems like they didn't know who he was.
That's true.
Anyways, I think if he wasn't Tyreek Hill, I think he gets thrown to the ground regardless.
Yeah.
Because I think you had a couple of JV football wannabe cops who couldn't handle somebody treating them with some rudeness.
And that's my question to you, like Justin. If I and maybe
he's got to deal with it.
Just a honest question. So, say I'm speeding, right?
Mm-hmm.
I get pulled over. I believe, and again, I'm not mostly asking, and they say you should be polite, but you can tell a cop, okay, that, like pretty much to give me the ticket and F off. And that's not illegal.
No.
You know what I mean? It's not illegal to be rude. I guess that's
100%.
So
you work,
that's what bothers me too. Like
when we talk about cops, we say, or military or anybody else that puts on a uniform, what do we say? Say thank you for your service, which I 100% agree with. So you are dealing in the service industry. The service is of the citizen, though.
Yeah.
And if the citizen is rude to you, then guess what? You have to take it because you work in the service industry.
And you think people,
you don't get to just put somebody in cuffs and push them on the concrete because they were rude to you.
Well, imagine if someone was rude to you at Starbucks, Justin. Or it's the service industry being food, right? People were, and it's like, oh, if you were, rude to somebody, they could put you in handcuffs. I mean, so this story's.
I know there's a lot of people out there, and I understand the mindset of like all you had to do was just keep the window down, blah blah blah. To me, that's not the point. The point is if we want to live in a free society, you get to be rude to police. You can't threaten. You can't put health and lives in danger. But you can be rude all you want. Now, I personally wouldn't do it. I would be like, here it is. Please don't put me on the ground. But that's not the point. We live in a free society where you should be able to be rude, and then all of a sudden you don't need some cop jacked up, again, on adrenaline, maybe something else. Thinking that it is time to put you in your place. And that's what it was. It was like, I am the vice principal. I shall put you in your place. That was not about protecting and serving. That was about proving a point.
Very
that
petty.
Was about putting someone in there. Is Tom Petty so petty? Tom Petty would be embarrassed how petty that was.
Like I said, I'm glad because again, it was one of those things that when you see the video, you're just shocked, and it's one of those things that you're just like, unbelievable that happens again. And in the same summer, Justin, we have Scotty Scheffler and we have Tyreek Hill. One arrested, one detained. Scotty was legit taken and booked, Justin.
Yeah. Now he did run over a cop. Or kind of hit a cop with his car.
I don't know, Jim.
He did hit a cop with his car. That being said, same situation. We could have. Let's all take a deep breath and let's realize that nobody is really at harm here. Same thing in this. No, you're not supposed to be detained unless you're actually putting police or other people in harm's way, right? They always say that. Like, I'm handcuffing you, I'm detaining you for your safety and mine. Nobody's safety was in danger. Nobody's safety was in danger. And if it was, then we got to re-look at what the protocol is. But that's where the lawsuit thing, I don't know. I don't know if he wwins a lawsuit. It'd be interesting.
So you don't think he's going to get fat stacks from this?
I don't know. I don't know if there's.
Curious.
I don't know how far he wants to take it. Or do you want to be like Scotty Scheffler, he was like, I just want it to be over. You drop it, moving on, moving forward. But Drew Rosenhaus, I believe, is Tyreek Hill's agent, and he was on the scene very early. And And Drew Rosenhaus was the first to be like, we're going to look into this at all of our options.
Yeah.
So if you're Tyreek Hill, do you accept hey, discipline has been ensued. And again, I am very careful in calling for people's jobs because I don't like it when people call for my job. So I don't. I want to treat people like I would be treated. But if you can't handle a traffic stop with any more poise than that, I don't know if that's maybe the job for you. I don't know. Just my opinion. All right, there you go. There's Make or Miss. Coming up next, it is a Tuesday. It's football, but still some things just get me grumpy. It is Get Off My Lawn. Next, 620 Rip City Radio. All right, it is time to wrap up hour number 2. It is a Tuesday. It is time for you all to get off my lawn. Brenden, are we up on YouTube right now? All right, so YouTube, I got this last week, but we were down on YouTube last week.
We're back, baby.
But tip of the cap to the fam. Got my coffee mug. This is my birthday gift from my parents who listened to the show. And
shout out to Myers' parents.
It says "Grumpy Old Man" right there on it, and so I'm having
That's pretty awesome. Actually.
Having my Tuesday coffee in my now. Can I get a little bit grumpy about the mug? Here's let's start the intro, and then I've got a couple of things that I'm grumpy about. One of which, very very thoughtful gift and very funny, but I have some beef with the mug world. Let's open up. Get off my lawn. All right, coffee mugs. I love you. I love the fact that coffee mugs exist solely to drink coffee out of. Have you ever drank like water out of a coffee mug? It feels weird. Do you know what I mean?
It does.
So we have multiple mugs in the studio. Some of them are mine. Most of them are Chad Doing's. But
you both are coffee addicts.
You better believe it.
10th power.
But I have this mug that was a birthday gift that says "Grumpy Old Man" on it, and I have this mug for free pub because it is I stole it. I didn't steal it. I borrowed it. I'll give it back from my wife's law firm. So I give a little love because I think Chad's got a law firm mug over here too.
The Gilroy firm.
Yeah, exactly.
I had to guess, man.
But see these mugs, they've got logos on them, right? And the logo, if I'm holding, most people in this world are right-handed. All right, I know the left-handed people don't like it when I bring it up, but the world is made for right-handed people. Like, I don't know what the stats are, but the world's made for right-handed people. And most people will hold a coffee mug, I don't know, with their right hand. So, why do you put the logo?
Do you want to know what percent is left-handed population? It's actually amazing because 2 of my siblings are left-handed.
I have a sibling also that's left-handed.
But the number is it's shocking.
Is it single digits?
Close.
Is it 11%? 10%?
That's mind-boggling.
10% of the world's population is left-handed.
Mind-boggling. But yeah, see, 90%'s made for it.
90%. The world's made for right-handed people. Sorry, lefties. You get when you get to play baseball at a high level, you get to pitch every time. Whereas the rest of us righties, if we don't throw hard, we don't get to pitch. So you have to pitch in the league, so stop. Anyways, Brenden, you can see the logo, and YouTube can see it. Why do people put the logo on the side that is facing you when you grab it with your right hand? If you want everyone to see the logo, so I'm trying to show off my Grumpy Old Man logo, but no, I'm drinking coffee left-handed, and that's worthless. I'm just going to spill it all over myself. So to the coffee mug people, let's get the logo on the right side. That if you hold it up with your right hand, the logo should then be facing out because, sorry, lefties, the world's made for right-handed people. Now, next real quick Grumpy Old Man thing. This weekend was a very big weekend for me. Sunday was an incredible weekend for me, and I'll tell you why. Brenden, for the first time, and people might not believe this, but other than in some password stealing times, it's the first time I've had Sunday ticket. I've been a cable guy, but not a DirecTV guy, and I like going to sports bars anyways on Sundays.
How is it? I am a little jealous. Wasn't quite in the budget for me, Justin.
It's great. It is great, and I do not regret the decision. But here's the one thing that does get annoying with Sunday ticket. Sometimes especially in the afternoon, like all the games go to commercial at the same time, and they're all the same commercials. You know how, like, in March Madness, it's like that one, like, whatever, like, I think they did the Chili's baby back ribs commercial. It's like all March Madness. We just have to hear. Or Lily from AT&T. Like, so nothing against Lily from AT&T. I'm sure she's a fine person. But by the end of March Madness, I'm sick of Lily from AT&T. Can we switch up some of the commercials on an NFL Sunday? The fact that we have to see the same ones over and over and over again. That being said, other than that, I have no complaints when it comes to Sunday Ticket. I'm a fan. I don't know how I'm ever going to go back. I don't think I ever am. I think I'm going to have to figure out how. I might have to cash in some cans all year long to be able to pay for the Sunday Ticket next year. Because this year I was able to convince. Now it's not like I had to convince my wife all that much. She loves football. Problem is, the Seahawks are her favorite team, and we get the Seahawks regardless. Most of the time we get the Steelers, but you know what? It's nice to know. And plus, I want to watch Bo Nix play this year. I want to watch Justin Herbert play. There's a lot of other games, but I was able to sell the whole thing because we finally cut the cable. And by cutting the cable, it saved us X amount of dollars. And YouTube TV with Sunday Ticket, it's still below what we were paying for cable. So I'm like, it's practically free. She did not see it that way, but she saw it in my eyes that I wasn't going to give up on the Sunday Ticket thing. But that being said, yes, the commercials that show up over and over and over and over and over again. And I know, well, Justin just watched Red Zone. I don't like Red Zone. Maybe it's because I'm a control freak. I think that's probably it.
That is a you thing.
It is. Now, there's other people I've talked to. They are like me. I don't like Red Zone, and I don't like multi screens.
I want one game on. Your age, or are they Gen Z millennial?
I think they're people my age. I think we like being in control.
I don't judge, but it's very different.
We like driving our own cars. We like mowing our own lawns, and we like running the remote.
I haven't mowed a lawn in probably 15 years, Justin.
Yeah, I know. See, where you guys, you want somebody to bring you an Uber Eats, and then you just have Scott Hansen pick the game you want to watch.
Just look at Tyreek Hill. 100%, man. Delivered on a silver platter.
All right. Hour number 3. Devon Pouncey joins us live in studio next, 620 Rip City Radio.
8 a.m. on a Tuesday. Brenden Slaughter with you for Rip City Mornings. No McCaffrey, no problem for the San Francisco 49ers. They take down Aaron Rodgers and the Jets 32-19 on Monday Night Football behind Jordan Mason in the backfield and a whole lot of field goals. Rams star wide receiver Puka Nacua will be going on IR with a PCL injury. He had left Sunday night's game against the Lions. Elsewhere in the NFL, quarterback Jordan Love for the Green Bay Packers avoids IR, but is not expected to play this weekend as the Packers will likely roll with Malik Willis. And more details on the Tyreek Hill situation as released body cam footage shows Hill being removed from his vehicle and put on the pavement amongst more detailed audio. That situation is shocking and continues to be so. Coming up here in just a few minutes, we're going to talk with Devon Pounce. He's going to be here all hour number 2. You got Rip City Mornings, hour 3.
And welcome back to Rip City Mornings. Devon Pounce is going to be joining us live in studio in just a few moments. Get his thoughts on whether he's a red zone guy or a multi-screen guy, or if you are like me, I like to bounce around. Maybe it's just years and years and years of growing up and wanting control of the remote. And when you got control of the remote, it was a glorious day. It was. Now look, mom and dad, they're in the room. They're holding the remote. But when it's your time and you're able to bounce around and go channel to channel and you're like, oh, I just want to see what's on. But I don't know. Maybe I'm in the minority. Maybe I'm not. I'm not the biggest NFL red zone fan. I want to watch a game. And I'm going to keep track of other games. And if I need to flip it and if I need to switch the games, I do the same thing in college football Saturdays. That's probably the other thing is I'm so used to on a college football Saturday, let's say if Oregon is playing a late game like they did on Saturday, I am so used to just having one game on the screen, keeping an eye on what's going on in the world. Close game on CBS. Boom. Flip it over. Oh, that game's getting out of hand. Get to Fox Sports 1. We got a nail biter down in the fourth quarter. I've been doing that forever. I don't know if I want to give up control. I don't know if I'm ready for NFL Red Zone to just take over. I also not the biggest fan of the multi-screen. I know it feels like something rich people used to have back in the day. Having the multi-screen, it also kind of feels, like turning your own home. If you have a big enough TV, kind of turning your own house into a sports bar. Well, maybe I'm just a commitment guy, and I like to commit to one game and to one channel. So talk to Pounce coming up in just a moment. Also, the other big thing I took from week 1 is if they're not going to be playing quarterbacks in NFL preseason, I think this is ultimately going to be the product early on in the NFL season, which I think it's important to react to week 1 and not overreact to week 1 because I don't know if we got the exact showing of what we are going to see for the season. I don't think Joe Burrow is going to stink all season long. I don't think Joe Burrow is going to put up 10 points at home against the Patriots all season long and have that kind of performance. I don't think we are going to see Dak Prescott, even though they got a win, 33-17. I don't think we're going to see Dak Prescott throw over just 179 yards. In a win, sure. I don't think we're going to see Kirk Cousins. What did Kirk Cousins throw for in the game? For $155. The rookie quarterbacks are going to rookie quarterback. That's what's going to happen. Also, Aaron Rodgers last night, 13 of 21, $167. Touchdown and a pick. Now, I don't think Aaron Rodgers is going to win the MVP anytime soon, and I don't know if Aaron Rodgers is going to be good enough to get the Jets to the top of that division, even though it's a division that seems a little more – I mean, I still think it's the Bills' division to win. But the Jets do have weapons, and if Aaron Rodgers plays anywhere close to a shell of his former self, well, they're going to have a shot. But he didn't play at all during the preseason coming off of an Achilles tear. Kirk Cousins didn't play at all in the preseason coming off of an Achilles tear. Joe Burrow didn't play at all coming off of season ender. I think it was a wrist injury. You look at these quarterbacks, even Anthony Richardson, he had one awesome throw. He did. But he also was 9 of 19 for 200 yards, 1 pick. He completed 9 passes. Because he didn't play at all during the preseason, coming off of a season-ending injury. So outside of Mahomes, and even in the loss, Lamar Jackson, I mean, Jalen Hurts, they got the win in Brazil, but still threw 2 picks. He was 20 of 34, threw for 270, sure, but threw 2 picks. And that's why I think it is a bit foolish, and I think a bit too premature to start throwing, even though I've already done that a handful of times this morning, but is a bit premature to start throwing some conclusions out there. Make observations, not conclusions in week 1. Really, in week 1, 2, 3, probably the first month of the NFL season. It's the new preseason. And I'm not saying that these teams are wrong. You actually kind of should. I mean, if you think about it, it's a 17-week season, and there are 7 teams in each division that go to the playoffs. You can get off to a slow start, still make a wild card. Steelers made a wild card last year. They didn't have a quarterback. And you can still start off slow, stumble out of the gate a little bit, and somehow, some way, still find your way into a wild card. And then you get hot in December, or you get hot in January, and who knows? Maybe you make a run. But this is, I think, what the first season of the NFL is going to look like. Or the first week, first 2 weeks, the first month of the NFL season. Yeah, you're going to look. Patrick Mahomes is still going Patrick Mahomes, but when you look at the preparation that these guys put in the first 3 weeks of the preseason, now it's all about evaluation, and it is less about preparing the actual player. Why? 2 reasons. 1, financially. If I'm paying you $200 million, you're not going to tear an ACL in the preseason. And 2, because you have now 17 games, again, more risk for injury, and 7 teams in each division, 14 teams make the playoffs, it's not all that imperative to go 3-1 to start the season. All right. Joining us now here in studio, our good friend who joins us each and every Tuesday from the Rip City Remix, the Wake Up and Win podcast.
That's right.
Devon Pouncey back in studio. How we doing, bud?
I like the applause. There we go. Yeah, encore.
We
Feeling
the red
good.
carpet. We were talking about this last segment. Brenden says I'm in the minority here, and I very well could be. And he insinuated that it might be a bit more of an old man trait than maybe something. I don't like NFL Red Zone. I don't like Red Zone. I want to be in charge. I also don't like, even though I got the Sunday ticket now.
For sure.
Things are looking pretty good. The Myers household. They got that Sunday ticket.
I like it.
Again, as I've told all these people, hitch your wagon to a shooting star.
Yeah. You're good for it.
But I don't like the multi.
I'm not the biggest fan of that either. I got my fantasy league, they kind of the manager, if you will, the CEO of the fantasy league, he has like a man cave. And so every Sunday, he allows folks from the league to come over. I don't go every Sunday, but he allows folks to come over, and he's a big Eagles fan. So if the Eagles game is on, he has them on one screen, but then on the other screen, he has like the multi-cast, if you will. And I'm not really the biggest fan of it. Like, even the other day at home, like, I had a game on TV, and then I had another game on my laptop.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But I had the full screen for one game on my television screen and the full screen of an entirely different game on my laptop. And, like, that, I like that a little bit more than having a whole bunch of games on the screen, because it's hard for me to, like, lock into any of them.
Well, I was saying this earlier. I think I have just been trained for my entire life, especially on college football Saturdays. I have the remote and I flip around.
Yeah.
And I'll watch a game and then I'll pay attention on my phone, and it's like, oh, we need to get to Fox Sports 1. Boom.
For sure.
There's a close game in the fourth quarter.
I'm
and
the
then
same way.
They pull it and they're like, I can flip around, and I might be a control freak. But I want to be in charge. And if you're watching a game and all of a sudden Red Zone's like, all right, we're gonna go out to Cleveland. It's like, well, I'm not done watching that yet.
Yeah, no, I look up the scores. So I'll go to like ESPN.com or whatever, go see what all the scores are, and that'll dictate what game I choose to like flip the channel to.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll watch that particular game based on like if it's just a good game or not. Like if it's a blowout, I don't really want any parts of it. But if there's a game on currently and it's a close game, it's a tightly competitive game, that's likely the game of my choice to turn on in the moment. But the multicast thing, it's not really my bag either. So I might be in the minority with you.
I think it's.
I do find this entertaining.
I know. Well, okay. Let me ask you. You like Red Zone. We've talked about this. You like Red Zone because it bounces around.
I do. But if money was no object,
do you
I'd probably...
do you like the the four?
No, not a big fan
Yeah.
of multi-view. I'll say this, and I mentioned to you, Justin, it wasn't quite in the Brenden budget to hook up YouTube, or, the full Sunday ticket.
Hit your wagon to a shooting star.
Oh, I know, right? I need to get on that. I might need to take some classes from
You
Justin.
come on over on
A
Sunday.
little how-to guide, make those videos like that.
I mean, I don't even have to be home. Just hop the gate, go to the backyard. Remote's right there.
Yeah.
Pop on the TV.
Crash might be right there too.
He didn't get up for anybody anymore.
Yeah, I said,
Okay.
You'll have to make sure. Yeah, I said,
I
Crash
remember
is
young Crash.
Yeah. Old Crash. He's lays around.
He's like, okay, got it.
So
got
Crash ain't gonna come after an intruder in his older
Nah.
days.
Nah.
He's like,
Oh.
Crash is now in the mode of like, well, if you're here, you're probably supposed to be here.
Yeah, a little bit.
I mean, I could.
But no, like all told, like I'll be honest, Justin, I did not like Red Zone before fantasy football. Then
Yeah.
when I started playing football, I'm like, oh my god, it's like,
But doesn't it drive you nuts? Like if you had a guy, right? And I guess they don't
cover all
really
the
cut away,
touchdowns.
but if you had a guy who was like that, you needed like a big performance on like a late Sunday, like in the to be able to get a win, and they keep cutting away from it. Drive me crazy.
It's true. It's true. I understand that frustration. There's times where you're just like, yeah, I don't get to watch that guy. Like that's
Yeah.
And that's kind of how it works. That being said, I think in the future years, Sunday ticket will come down and it'll be something everyone can get at some or pick your teams. But yeah, I tried the multi-view with the college football games this weekend, Justin. You kind of move over to highlight the audio you want to hear and that kind of thing. I don't know if it's for me. Maybe I'll try it out.
I think it's one of those things
It'll grow on
that
me,
as
probably.
you grow up, you're like, that's what rich people have, or like,
Yeah.
or every dude wants to own a sports bar, right?
For
it's
sure.
not a good idea.
Yeah.
If like, sports bars are a little tough.
They're tough.
The
They are
business is
tough.
not. I mean, raised within margins, but at some point, every sports watching dude, I think, thinks to themselves, "Man, I want to own a sports bar. That sounds fun." And then so you know, like, man, it's probably not going to be in the budget, so I'll turn my backyard,
Yeah,
turn into
garage,
the man cave.
for
right?
sure.
You want to turn into a sports bar, but that's I think more in theory as opposed to in practice.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, because in practice, it's crazy. Trust me, I DJ at a few sports bars, and it's turned me away from ever wanting to own one.
Oh, I couldn't even imagine.
Oh, my gosh. It's tough. But no, I do get what you're saying from the fantasy football standpoint, because, like, last night, I had a bittersweet night because I needed Ayuk to play well because he's on my team in one of my leagues, but I was going against Ayuk, and so I needed him to not play well for me to win in the other league.
Drop
And that's
that
literally
touchdown
how
pass.
it played out. Yeah, he dropped that touchdown pass, which would have won me the league that I lost in, but it also would have lost me the league that I ended up winning in. So What do you do?
I have no earthly idea. You two are both nuts with this fantasy stuff. I just watched the game. All right, coming up next, we got some more NFL stuff. I'm curious your thoughts on the Tyreek Hill thing.
Yes.
It's fascinating. We've seen the footage of both the fan and like the Zapruder film, and we have the body cam footage. So
Yes,
I'll
we
get your
do.
thoughts on that and some more NFL talk. A whole lot more with Devon Pouncey coming up next. 620 Rip City Radio. All right, so it was an interesting, to say the least, week one in the NFL as Devon Pouncey from the Wake Up and Win podcast and basketball analyst for the Rip City Remix, but more importantly, a friend of the program who hangs out with us each and every Tuesday. So we had, just the best possible way to start off the season with the Thursday night game. Came right down to the wire.
Yeah.
Literally an inch of cleat that got outside of the back of the end zone that cost the Ravens a chance to go for two and for the win. I don't know if the NFL's ever going back to Brazil ever again. That was weird.
Yeah.
I am all for trying new things, and I didn't think the going to Europe was a good idea. I was wrong on that one. It's working.
Yeah.
And now you are seeing fans there, especially like in Germany and in London. Like the fans are now kind of understanding the game a little bit better.
For sure.
I will say, well, we should never really feel bad for Germany. Germany gets the Giants and the Panthers this year. Oops.
That's a tough one.
It's going to be a tough one in Germany. But the Brazil game was weird. And then, well, the big news on Sunday was Tyreek Hill got arrested on his way to the stadium. Second time that's happened, Scotty Scheffler gets arrested before playing in the PGA Championship.
For sure.
And now Tyreek Hill gets pulled over. And obviously we talked about it a little bit yesterday, and I was like, I want to see the body cam footage.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of things that could go into a reason why someone is laying face down. Sometimes it's their own fault, sometimes it's not. And I'm like, I don't know if it's responsible to talk about it until we see that the actual foot. And boy, they got that footage out fast.
They got it out quick.
They got that out fast. And I think it's probably because I would assume the police department wants this to be over as soon as possible because they do not look very good.
For sure.
I've given my thoughts earlier in the show. It's frustrating because I believe good police officers and good law enforcement are about protecting, serving, and more importantly, keeping people safe. That was not what happened there.
Right.
That was about a big you-know-what contest. It was a battle of egos, and a bruised ego caused the escalation of a scene that I felt, and again, I'm not law enforcement, and I never went through the training, so I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
So I might be speaking from a place of ignorance, but didn't feel like it needed to be that.
No, it didn't.
What happened? It didn't need to be that. It could have been a ticket.
Right.
It could have been a stern talking to.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't feel like it needed to be that.
No, it didn't feel like
it was a wild scene.
Yeah, it was a wild scene. And I think in Tyreek's case, especially with the body cam footage, you could see that Tyreek Hill was on the phone. And I think one thing in particular, as a black man myself, obviously, and understanding sort of the distrust that's there for a lot of obvious reasons, including that one that just piles on to more obvious reasons as why there's distrust between particularly black men and the police. Tyreek got on the phone. I'm watching too much Power these days. Back out. but back to the real stuff. Tyreek made a phone call because he knew that he was being pulled over. Oftentimes, you do want to have some type of witness aside from like body cam footage in the moment because you want somebody that you trust and that you believe in to know, hey, this is what I'm about to deal with in this moment. I've been on phone calls when being pulled over by the police just to know that I had somebody on the phone that can hear the entire interaction aside from kind of the body cam thing, which is still kind of newish when it comes to like the law and the police having to wear body cam footage. And so I think, with him doing that, I think there's a lack of understanding on the officer side in this instance where I think that frustrated him. And he felt that the body cam was enough for him to be able to have a clean interaction with Tyreek Hill, but his pride got in the way because Tyreek decided to take his own protective measures, if you will, to make sure that people that he was comfortable with knew and was aware of what was going on and what potentially could have went down. And then ultimately, worst case scenario happened where he's asked to be taken out of the vehicle. And before he even gets a chance to step out of the vehicle, doors open, the officers are just grabbing and tugging at him, trying to get him to the ground immediately. And they can clearly see that all he is on a cell phone right here. You could give him at least the time to be able to step out of the vehicle. It was a, hey, get out of the vehicle, and an immediate grab from there. It wasn't an opportunity for let the butterfly doors go up, you know what I'm saying, on the vehicle for him to be able to step out. But I think it was the phone conversation that really, it seemed from the body cam footage that it was the phone conversation that kind of triggered the officer, if you will, and it immediately turned into a physical altercation. And I don't think there was any need for that. I didn't see Tyreek escalated to the point where anybody being touched needed to take place in that moment. And as you mentioned, it kind of came a pride and ego thing for that officer.
It was a 100% ego.
That's what
thing.
it became. You know what I'm saying? And I think it was because he wanted complete control in that situation, which is why I feel like a lot of them take that job. And because he felt like a little bit of control was out of his hands, he immediately took it to a physical place that it did not need to go to, and it became excessive. And now, you know, here he is. I know he's on paid leave, of course, which we often see, but now he's got to deal with the bigger issue because you did have somebody with the profile of Tyreek Hill. Fortunately, that this immediately, as you said, was on the table of the Miami Police Department, and they need to try to get by this as swiftly as possible because this is a high-profile athlete that you did this to, and not just any old Joe Schmo.
Well, and first off, thankfully, the body cam footage exists.
For
right?
sure.
I've always look, daylight is the best disinfectant, right?
Yeah.
They bring and we have cameras now, and I would say if I was a police officer, I would want that 100% of the time.
Yeah.
Because I would want people seeing how I am working and how, you know, somebody says something, his word against mine, I want the body cam footage.
For sure.
I don't want it off.
Especially if you're a police officer that's operating the way that you should be.
100%. And I think that's where I think a lot of frustration comes from in that community is that there are good cops and there are bad cops. I firmly believe that the good, or I don't even want to say good versus bad, it just there was clearly a different mentality there than trying to protect and serve and keep people safe. It was an ego trip. It was a big you-know-what contest, and it became an altercation that you would see in a bar, right? Because it started off with something stupid, which, well, first off, it started off with the Tyreek Hill driving way too fast.
For sure.
That deserves a ticket. All right, he drove too fast, get him a ticket. He'll pay it. You look at the car he's driving, you probably get him a big fat ticket.
Yeah.
Maybe even a stern talking to, have him be on his way. But felt like to me, and again, I've watched this a handful of times, the disconnect was the knocking on the window.
Yeah.
Tyreek Hill says, don't knock on my window. He says, roll the window down. And then, which is kind of a dumb thing. You don't need his window down to be able to process. You have his license.
Right.
Process him, write the ticket, give it to him through the window. And Tyreek Hill, probably, I don't know if he needs to make such a big deal of them knocking on the window. Probably a very expensive window. But again, I bring this up all the time. Not all the time, but whenever we talk about law enforcement, your job is to protect and serve.
Yes.
Like you work in the service industry. When we see firemen, cops, military, we say thank you for your service because your job is there. There's no service there.
No.
That was about proving your dominance. That was about being the alpha, and that was about proving a point. And there's no need for that. There's absolutely no need for that.
And it could be tough.
And when you work in the business of serving the community, you have to deal with people being rude to you. You have to deal with it. That's part of the job. It just is. You have to deal with it. You don't get to then go above and beyond just because someone is a little bit rude to you.
For sure.
And I think that's a big problem. I don't know, maybe it's not a big problem, but it's the problems that we often always see because we don't see any video footage of the perfect stops. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
they stop the court. We don't see any of that footage. We only see the footage of the bad stops, but it feels like when things start to escalate, it's because of bruised egos and the ability to control. And it's like, you work for us, dude.
Yeah.
You work for
yeah,
us.
for sure. Taxes pay you, brother.
Yeah.
And no, I agree with
And
you
if
wholeheartedly.
if I was a cop and I watched that video, I would be like, what are we doing?
What are we
I
doing?
would be
Yeah.
I would be so furious.
The problem is when you know you have the power at the end of the day to be able to arrest somebody, you got backup, you got all of these things in this moment. Like, you don't need to have the power struggle of wanting to force him out of the vehicle or wanting to force him to, roll his window down right away. And like you said, it seemed like the disconnect may have like started there, but for me, the disconnect was when the door was being opened and you could clearly see Tyreek Hill was on the phone. You could clearly see he didn't have any weapons. And the immediacy in the door being open, telling him to get out of the car, and then putting your hands on him. You gave him no time to even be able to just get a leg out. Yeah. And like, it was like, get out the car. And you went straight to grab. Just to kind of say, well, I told him to get out the car and try to say that he refused or he denied or whatever the case may be. And you can tell his body position was going towards getting out of the car. Like I said, door might have been a little different than the officer was used to. One of them butterfly doors that go up instead of out. You know what I'm saying? So,
like,
it's a game
I
changer.
know this is a very serious thing.
For sure.
That was one of the first things I noticed. That car door doesn't open that way.
It doesn't open that way. You know what I'm saying? That thing goes up, not out. And so, it might have been a little bit of an awkward situation there, but the immediacy and the grab and wanting to take things to a physical place, to me, was where I my stomach turned a little bit in watching the body cam footage. And again, have as much footage as you want. Have as many witnesses if you want and that you need if you feel like as an officer you're doing the right thing beside just the body cam footage that you have access to or that's attached to or connected to you. So, and I think Tyreek Hill has handled this thing, pretty gracefully as well. I think, obviously he understands his lack of privilege as a black man, but he understands where he has a little bit of privilege being a higher profile black man as a celebrity athlete and is shining light on the fact that if it wasn't him, how much worse that this could have potentially been. And so, I think he's handling it really well in all of this, but also, it's unfortunate that he also had to be humbled in that moment because you're still black, my man.
All right, so that being said, good news was after the fact, everyone ended up safe.
Yes.
Ended up getting to the game.
For sure.
Scores a touchdown. What did he go for, Brenden?
Right.
Like $140 or something?
With like an 80-yard touchdown or something crazy. He's
so
still
now,
Tyreek at the end of the day.
So I don't want to continue to make light of what could have been a very serious situation, but in the end, it was resolved, and we're going to see. Boy, there's going to be some lawyers. And we're going to see that. But my brain can't not go to this place, Pounce, which is probably shows where I come from as opposed to where you come from. I'm looking at the people on the sidewalk who are walking to the game.
Yeah.
Who are going like, is that Tyreek Hill?
For sure. That's
the thing I noticed. There's the fans in Dolphins gear clearly walking to the game. Looking like, wait.
Well, when you see him,
is that Tyreek Hill?
Yeah, you see him, and then you look at the vehicle, and it's like, yeah, it's got to be Tyreek Hill.
Or it's got to be somebody.
Somebody high profile again, because that car, that's not just no regular whip right there. That's somebody, so regardless of what they saw first, whether it was him,
how wild
you
must
knew
that
it
be?
was somebody driving that thing.
If you just you went and you went to your economy parking lot, and you're like, all right, we got a big walk to the stadium, and we're going to meet our buddy for a tape. Is that Tyreek Hill getting arrested?
Yeah, it's wild. It's wild. It's, as a fan, that is a little wild to run into an incident like that in that moment, for sure.
Well, and then again, the other part of it that I found concerning was then there was the part where, and I forget his name. It wasn't Clay, because I think Calais Campbell showed up at some point, but there was another one of his of Tyreek Hill's teammates, and then because again, like you said, I just want to get eyeballs on it.
Yeah.
See what's going on. Also, do they know who they have?
Right.
I think there was a sense of that. You saw the same thing there with the Scotty Scheffler thing. Obviously, very different situation, but do you know who you just put handcuffs on? And I think there was a little bit of that of hey, do you know who you have handcuffed? And then there was a part where it was you can't park there. get in your car, drive away. And so he's like, I'm going to drive away. And then the other officer's like, no, give me your license. So you have two cops screaming.
Yeah.
The conflicting
Yep.
commands.
For
and
sure.
it's like, you can't have this kind of chaos.
No.
This is why, again, the whole point, some point, is de-escalation.
Yes, that's the
It's
key.
supposed to be de-escalate.
Yep.
When you get 3, 4 jacked up dudes on adrenaline, caffeine, and maybe something else,
Right.
all yelling different things.
Yeah.
Like, that's chaos. You can't have
Quickest
it.
way to
And you
escalate
can't
a
have it.
situation. You figure out your roles. Have somebody lead. Have somebody support. Have somebody be a watch out. Figure out your roles, before you get into a situation where everybody's yelling different commands, because that's the quickest way for things to go south.
Because, yeah. And again, ticket would have sufficed.
For sure.
I mean, what a day.
That's all he needed. He would have been able to pay it, and he would have maybe even got to the stadium in time. Now we've prolonged everything for all the wrong reasons.
So that I'm going to be fascinated to see what happens.
For sure.
I would imagine if I had to guess, the Dolphins, the city, and probably the chief of police get into a room, talk.
Oh yeah.
And deals are made. I don't know if this gets to lawsuit status.
I think it's up to Tyreek though.
That's why I think the Dolphins are probably going to go in and be like,
yeah.
Because I would imagine, I don't know if Tyreek wants to get past this or not, but if I'm the Dolphins and if I'm the city and if I'm the police department, like how do we resolve this
For sure.
as soon as possible?
Yeah.
And I'm going to be fascinated to see if it does go further, because the Scheffler thing, it was like, look, charges dropped, I move on, we all go on about our lives.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if this one ends that way.
Yeah, you got to take these things a little bit more serious too. Obviously considering all the Kaepernick stuff and in some ways, some of the neglect that people felt in regards to topics such as these, and then things go around and then things come around, and now here you are facing a situation with one of your best players out there. Somebody that you can't argue is just because he's not a starter doesn't mean that there's validity to his experience. And now, you've got to step up and have Tyreek's back in this instance.
All right, coming up next, we are going to wrap up the big show with our special Ebony and Ivory version of the RCL mailbag. That's next, 620 Rip City Radio. All right, time to wrap up the big show. Each and every day we have the RCM mailbag, but when Pounce is in studio, we throw a little twist on it, and we revive an old segment of ours called Ebony and Ivory. Now, it doesn't always have to be black and white. It
For sure.
can also be Gen X, Millennial, Gen Zer in Brenden over there. You're right on the borderline of the Gen Zs, right?
Yeah, I can be either or with my great
you
birth year. It's awesome.
You can hop and skip and jump. And just
Oh, yeah. It's like
depending on
some things I do that, some things I do that. It's perfect.
Because what I'm about to bring up is probably going to be more age-related than maybe culture-related, but there's going to be some cultural significance in it, too. We
For sure.
need to open up the mailbag Ebony and Ivory version. All right, so an hour ago, we had our Grumpy Old Man segment. At risk of sounding, again, like an out-of-touch grumpy old man, which I am, I want to hear from both of you. Kendrick Lamar halftime show?
Awesome.
I'm with it.
Okay.
Awesome.
I'm with it. 100%.
I know
with it.
I'm
Be humble.
I know that song. Does he have enough bangers to do, to do a full?
Yeah.
Like,
Come on,
main-
Devon.
like
We got to help out
mainstream,
Justin
like,
here,
Yeah,
man.
he does.
like stuff that I would know.
He could perform Not Like Us 6 times and you be all right. It's like he did at the Pop-Out show. and he'll be just fine.
Devon, over/under on how many shots he takes at Drake.
Oh, I mean, he already took about 10 of them in the rollout.
That's what I'm saying. Is there a shot at Drake at the Super Bowl?
He's taken about 10 of them in the rollout itself. He took about, like, there was a lot of subtle shots taken in that rollout commercial and announcing that he'll be performing the halftime
All right,
show.
so here's what's interesting about because I've been watching Super Bowl halftime shows since before they were actually Super Bowl halftime shows, when they were kind of an afterthought, and there was a trend, and they always trended. It started trending younger and younger until finally Justin Timberlake and Janet Jackson got everybody all in a tizzy.
For sure.
And I understand why. So then after that, they're like, fine, we're going to the olds.
Right.
And so they went Rolling Stones, Tom Petty, The Who.
The Who.
The Who.
It's all.
They had remember it was a CSI, like CSI had all the Who songs as their but anyways, they did the Who, they did Paul McCartney, right? They did the olds. Bruce Springsteen. And then they started kind of coming back. And I thought for the last handful, they have found the sweet spot. Now, I have always kind of been in the sweet spot, which is about 35 to 50, which is you're still young enough to be like an active music listener, but
Right.
you're old enough to where like I want to hear the stuff from 50. You know what I mean? Like
Right,
that
right,
little
right.
sweet where you got Dr. Dre,
Yeah.
you got Rihanna,
Mhm.
you got Lady Gaga,
Usher.
you got Usher. Exactly. Like those
Yeah.
are all. I'm 23 and up in the club again, but
For sure.
I'm hearing it as a 43, 44-year-old dude. Am I just aging out of the sweet spot? Because I heard Kendrick Lamar and I'm like, I got nothing.
Yeah.
I got nothing. I might be aging out, and that's fine.
Well, I'm
I'm okay with that.
I just think it's a totally different approach being taken with Jay-Z, dictating things. But I do think, like, on the musical front, one thing I do feel about Kendrick Lamar in particular is that a lot of people don't realize that Kendrick Lamar has always appealed to more of a, like, pop audience. Even though his lyrics are definitely more like, pro-black, if you will, or like, pro, even in some cases, pro the streets. Like,
As
he's
you would say, for the culture.
for the culture. You know what I mean? His lyricism is definitely for the culture. But like, if you went to Kendrick Lamar's shows, like, it's a lot more like white people that attend his shows. It's a lot more of a pop crowd that actually attends his shows than like a bunch of inner city dudes that just want to go see Kendrick Lamar. So
It was pretty awesome when I got to go see him. Justin, I remember you gave up your tickets when you
I
had,
did.
when you had Justin could have seen him, Devon, and
wow.
passed on it for Kendrick Lamar. But no,
It
that
was also a weeknight.
That's fair. It was But no, it was cool because
Now look at him.
he
at the
brought
Super Bowl.
out Baby Keem.
Yeah.
And I'm curious to know if
Who's that?
His cousin.
Okay.
And Baby Keem's pretty popular too. I'm
He's-
curious if he makes an appearance at the
He's
Super
young
Bowl.
though. He's younger than Kendrick.
But
I-
I
yeah.
like me some Baby Keem. Like I don't know. I was
You guys are just making up
after-
names now. I
after
feel like
after Usher, and I don't mean to. I'm like, when I saw this, I go, someone for the kids. Someone for the kids. Someone for the kids. After we got Usher, we got
Usher,
you know,
Rihanna, Dr. Dre, Snoop
Yeah, all
Dogg,
y'all's-
and Kendrick was there on that.
He was on.
For
he
like a
performed.
hot
It's true.
minute.
It's
Yeah.
true.
And then
Yeah, he's
but
done a
it was,
lot of
that
work
was,
with Dr. Dre.
It's just I don't want to give it up yet. I'm not ready to give up the halftime show. I know it's for the kids. I'm not ready to give it up.
Yeah, yeah, I
I'm
hear you.
The Eminem.
Can I just be
Dr.
honest?
Dre,
I don't want to give it up.
Eminem, Dr. Dre in LA wasn't a fine enough, like, peace out. Neither was Rihanna. Neither was Usher.
Yeah.
Come on, Justin. You've had time.
Nope.
No, but they'll
And it was Timberlake too. Remember Timberlake was
Timberlake,
a
yeah.
couple years earlier.
Yeah, but I also think Kendrick. One thing about Kendrick that I think a lot of people are going to realize is his showmanship is incredible.
It is.
His showmanship is incredible. His artistry is incredible, and I think that that's going to be very well put on display. There's a lot of people mad that it's not Lil Wayne. You know, you probably would have been able to vibe with a Lil Wayne set a little
Lil
bit
Wayne
more.
was in the mix.
It's a little bit more of your
Yeah,
era
interesting.
ish,
Yeah.
ish. Especially
Now-
if you
now-
take it back to
now-
Hot Boys, Lil Wayne.
Now,
Now,
don't get me
Lil-
wrong, Devon. Like,
Now, if Lil Jon goes up
now,
there.
like, you almost got to tell.
Now we're talking. Now it's
I mean-
2007 again.
I mean, yeah, Devon, can we get like? I mean, it's hard to tell people, but like, 2008, 2009, Lil Wayne. Oh my,
He was it.
oh my
he was it.
God.
Carter 3, one of my top 5
Yeah.
favorite
Oh, my
hip hop
goodness.
albums of all time. Like, and that was, it was about 2008, 2009, somewhere around there.
Yep.
Like,
He
Lil
was-
Wayne definitely had
he had
an
a
era
moment.
where nobody in rap
No.
was touching him.
Yeah.
Definitely. One of my favorite, he's like my GOAT.
Mhm.
But from a showmanship standpoint, I can understand why you choose Kendrick Lamar over Lil Wayne when you're making a business decision the way that Jay-Z had to make for an NFL Super Bowl halftime show. I think Lil Wayne is a little bit too much of a risk to be a disaster of a show.
Are you?
Kendrick is not.
Fair, yeah, agreed.
And I've said this. I don't like Drake songs, but I understand how massively popular they are.
For sure.
You surprised it wasn't Drake?
No, not after what Kendrick
No,
did to him.
Kendrick has put
He
him in.
annihilated him.
Kendrick's
But
put him in a
this
bag.
year.
But but I don't care about any of that. I just want to hear bangers.
But no, he has
Yeah.
put him in a bag.
put-
I want to like.
it was-
There's a good chunk of people that don't care. They just want to hear the hotline bling.
Yeah, no, he took
Yeah, I
he
think-
took Drake to school.
Yeah, he did. He took Drake down a little
He
bit,
got
man.
Drake
Like,
spiraling right now.
Drake's star has how do you put it kindly, Devon? Like he
Yeah,
This
I don't
is
think
such
it's
a-
a kind way to put it.
no, there
It's
is
so fascinating that this is a whole world that I'm just not a part of.
Oh
Yeah,
man,
I mean-
It's just like
oh,
you guys
man,
are like, this is the. I don't.
Well,
even-
Kendrick it was always a big three conversation when it came to hip hop since sort of the backpack rap days. It's Kendrick, it's J. Cole, it's Drake. J. Cole eliminated himself early on in the beef before Kendrick even really got hot. And then Kendrick, just from the shoulders, head to head, Drake just didn't stand a chance.
Nope.
He didn't stand a
KO.
chance. It was a KO for sure.
without a doubt.
All right, I'll be fascinated. Maybe
It'll
it
be a
might
great
be one of
show.
those. It
It'll
might
be a
be one of
great
those
show.
things because this happens to me a lot. What do I got? Like 10 seconds here, where I don't know who sings the song or what the song name is, but I hear it like at the gym or like
We
out and
gonna
about,
be
and I
all
go,
right.
oh, I know that one. Might be
Yeah.
one of those
It-
halftime
it'll
shows for
happen.
me.
It'll
All right,
happen.
that's going to do it for the big show. Thanks to Devon Pouncey. Thanks to super producer Brenden. Thanks to all of you. Have a terrific Tuesday. We'll talk to you tomorrow morning, 6:20, Rip City Radio.